We're live. We're live, JD.
What?
We're live.
Hey! We did it. We're here. I have notes. I'm going to read them. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka Spoiler Alert, episode 738, where we will review the past week's comics, as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo, owner of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street in Manayunk. Brian and Len are not here this week, so you just have our beautiful mugs and also this beautiful mug to enjoy today. Len, tell the people something.
Yes. I would tell you something, but JD has just announced to you that myself and Brian are not here.
Oh,
So
no.
therefore, I will say nothing more.
Did I say Brian and Len? Brian and Noel will not be here. Len is here. Spoiler alert, he's here. Fooled you. Boy, is there egg on your face, viewer, for believing me. Idiots. Len, tell the people something.
Oh God, we are off to a great start this morning, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, let's not prolong this any longer. Let's get right into the comics. Yay!
Yeah, baby.
Comics.
Let's see. What are we going to start with? I'll tell you. It'll be Basilisk #1 from Boom Studios, written by Cullen Bunn, with art by Jonas Scharf. Who can stop the Chimera? 5 individuals bound by a cult-like hive mind. They terrorized small towns with their horrifying supernatural sense-based powers, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Regan, one of the Chimera, escaped and has been in hiding, with her murderous eyes bound, overcome with guilt. Until now, when a victim from her past forces her to hunt down the other 4 of her kind. I'm going to bring up the little, we're going to screen share. We're going to bring up Basilisk #1. We're going to bring up Basilisk #1. We're going to click share. We're going to do share screen. There we go. Allow. A little peek behind the sausage. There it is. Basilisk #1. So, to be honest, when I was ordering this in previews, I saw the covers on previews. There was a couple of different variant covers, as is pretty common these days. Every comic has variant covers. And it immediately grabbed my attention in previews. I saw it. I went, what's that? And I thought, oh, Cullen Bunn. I generally like him most of the time, I guess. But really it was the art style, the text, the
font.
the text treatment.
Was it this variant cover or that grabbed your attention?
No, it wasn't. There was another one which was just a close up of the woman's face, and she's got the shroud in front of her eyes. So anyway, I was like, oh, we'll try this out. And I did check it out, and I thought it was actually really, really interesting. It's probably one of the most interesting things I've read from Cullen Bunn. The thing I always think of from him is like he did a run on Scarlet Spider, Maximum or Minimum Carnage, and stuff like that, and they're always just kind of fine. What else would I know Cullen Bunn from, Len? Do you know?
I just know the name. I've seen his name like out there, but I can't like put my finger on like, oh, this is the definitive Cullen Bunn. So no, I don't even know.
Let's see, CullenBunn.com. I write comics for Oni Press, The Sixth Gun, The Damned, and The Tooth. Marvel Comics, Wolverine, Spider-Man Season 1, and Fear Itself. Um, oh, Star Wars Darth Maul. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So he's, oh, and Harrow County. Ooh,
Oh
Harrow
yeah.
County.
Yeah.
There it is. That's the one. That's the one where I know that guy.
Okay, that's the definitive colon bun right there,
Yes.
Harrow
If
County.
anyone out
Right.
there hasn't read Harrow County, you should, and you like good horror comics, like a,
Hmm.
I would say light horror, just like kind of like this is maybe sort of a light horror book. I thought this was great. I will say that the introduction that I read, the solicitation that I just read just now, gave me a little bit more information that I think I didn't really get in the book, including the
Okay.
name of the chimera. Like
Okay.
the overall the sweeps of story I kind of got. I was like, oh, okay, I get what's going on in the story, but things like I didn't know they were called the chimera.
Right. Right.
But
Some of the little details.
yeah, but overall, the big things that you need to know are all I think basically in this book and flow together really interestingly. The information is revealed at a good clip. What did you think?
Hmm. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought this read like a lot of comic books nowadays, almost like a an episode of television, and I thought this, along with the visuals, probably had the most television feel of a lot of the comics that I've read, which I'm not against. I'm for it. It drops you right into this world, and then it doesn't inundate you with like a whole like exposition dump. It kind of like slowly builds out the world that this is set in, and you've got to piece some things together, and some things come like, right out of the blue, like, that the beginning, the opening is a very like this very stylized, almost painterly, but scene that you can tell, mostly because it's like kind of like black and white, or like this wash, that this is a flashback type of thing. um but if you didn't think it was a flashback, then you know it when you turn to the page and you're immediately taken to another scene, another
Yeah,
art style, and I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. And once you know just like any good TV show or comic book, if you know the language of comic books, then it doesn't throw you off too much, and you can just follow along with it. Um, so I thought it was pretty interesting. It's you said like light horror. It is kind of like light horror, maybe like a suspenseful build out of this character, this chimera. I thought that the pacing of it was very good, from walking through the woods and going to the diner and then being taken captive, and the whole that whole walk into the end of where we get
yeah,
was very well done. I do think that the end comes like very abrupt. It was like almost like just looking for a place to stop. And it's like, well, this is as good a place as any, and it's just like stopped it. So
yeah,
that kind of like, I was like, oh, hold up, that don't seem right. But overall, I was still in. The art was very engaging, got me into it. I like the storytelling. I um i find myself more and more, when I'm looking at art, I think of the art, oh, could I really like this art? I would love to see them do something else. And to be honest, almost every time I think that, the something else I'm thinking of is Astro City, because Astro City has a very down to earth story to tell about superheroes, and a lot of stories that, whether or not they're baked in horror or real life, when it's really grounded like real world people, like this art is, I just want to see them draw Astro City. But that's just me,
yeah.
and it's because I'm so engaged by their art that I wish that they were on something, that a story and a series that I've been engaged in for over 20 years.
Right.
But this was very interesting. I liked it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really fun, and the art is great. I really like that transition between the lead in to where
Hmm.
we are now. There was
Yeah.
definitely an abrupt shift in art style, but I think it worked beautifully. And this is really, I just really, really like this. It's really evocative. It's really interesting. I'm really curious to see where it's headed, and I think the end. I think the end was a good cliffhanger. I don't think to me it didn't feel like, oh yes, this is as good a place as any. It just felt like, oh, this is great. We finally get the a big shot of the other members of the Chimera,
Mm-hmm.
and how, well, I guess we're gonna have to go get her. I thought it was actually a great wrap up for this
I
issue.
I guess so. Maybe it's because that ending looks very like variant cover number 3 to
Okay,
me. That maybe that's why it just looks very just it's as naturalistic as everything else in this book looks. That ending looks very staged,
got,
and
oh
I think
yes, for sure.
maybe that's what like drew me out of
Yeah.
that.
And I
But
just
it's
realized the entire storytelling motif that runs throughout this issue is the crow and a close up of
Mhm.
the crow's eye. And at the very end, we see that the crow has made its way back to the Chimera and is, I guess, reporting
right,
what it has
right.
seen. I did not catch that the first time I read it. I
Oh,
like
oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah, I did peep that. So I mean, there's a lot to like about this, and considering that you said that you're not really into or found yourself kind of like hit or miss on Colin Bunn,
Yeah.
um, even though it sounds like you're all in for Harrow County,
Oh
though.
yes.
Um, how did you feel about this? Is this does this feel different enough from the vibe of Harrow County that Colin Bunn is showing another side of his talents?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Very different. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this is another one that's gonna. This will probably cement him and be like, oh, okay, this is the guy who does Harrow County and also Basilisk. You know what I
Got
mean?
you.
Those would be
Got
the
you.
two that I remember as on top of Minimal Carnage from Marvel.
Cool.
But all right, nice. Let's see what else is up. I'll tell you. Oh, Crush and Lobo #1, DC
Oh,
Comics by Mariko Tamaki, one of my favorite current writers, and Amon K. Nahulpan. Nahulpan?
sounds as good as any.
Yeah, Crush is the best girlfriend ever. Shut up. In case anyone was wondering, Crush is doing just fine, actually. Sure, she recently walked away from her classmates at the Roy Harper Titans Academy and effectively quit being a teen titan in a blaze of glory. And, okay, her relationship with her too good to be true girlfriend, Katie, is kind of on the rocks, if you want to get all technical about it. Oh, and she recently found out Lobo's in space jail. But that's cool because he's the fucking worst. Okay, maybe Crush has some stuff, but that doesn't mean she's gonna do anything about it. Like actually go to space and confront her dad and all her problems, because everything is fine. Right? That was the solicitation from Diamond Comics for Crush and Lobo #1.
Well, Jesus, then why don't we just cut straight to Crushing Lobo number 2?
Yeah, right? Let's see. Trying to find
Gosh. While you straighten out your whole share screen thing, I will say hello to the people in the chat. What's up, action figure expert? How you doing?
Oh, hi.
And Brandon is who said that hello. I just wanted to say it's nice seeing the original dynamic duo. Have fun. Well, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, brother, and hope you are enjoying your Sunday.
How's the Heather handle? What's up going on? How you guys doing today? We're
Uh,
great,
I-
action figure expert. Hi, Brandon. Yay, it's Brandon. Brandon, did you read Crush and Lobo #1? Because I felt like you might enjoy this. So, as you can tell from the solicitation, Crush is a very specific sort of character.
mhm.
A teenage girl, basically. It's just very teenage girl. And as the old members of my show used to say, I was the teenage girl of the podcast. So this was right up my alley. And it's Pride Month, so DC is doing a bunch of Pride books. I don't know if this was like coincidental, and they were always going to be doing a Crush and Lobo book, or if it was going to be like, hey, it's Pride, let's do a Crush and Lobo book. But this was really, really cute. I liked Crush from the recent. Is it Adam Glass did a recent run on Teen Titans and introduced a newish team where Damian was the leader, and then we were introduced to Crush and a couple other new Titans. And usually those runs I don't really care about. The last one I remember was growing up. There was a Dan Jurgens reboot
Oh
of the
boy.
Titans with very different characters, and those have just into the ether. They've just disappeared.
Yeah, one of the crises took them out. Yeah,
Oh, is that what it was?
probably.
And but I've actually really quite enjoyed the recent run on Titans. Now we've got Teen Titans Academy, of which I've only read the first issue, but I'm enjoying that. And I like Crush as a character. I think she's fun. I think giving Lobo a daughter is pretty fun. And I think if I was a teenager, I would have a crush on this character. You know what I mean?
I feel you. I feel you. Yeah,
Yeah.
most certainly. Yeah.
I like her aesthetic, her style. But yeah, what did you think, Len?
I think cute is the word. I think this is a very cute book. It's almost has a bit of a YA type of vibe to it,
Mm-hmm.
which there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's fun, bombastic. I like that for longtime fans of Lobo, the book kind of like follows a little bit in the tradition of the old Lobo miniseries that DC used to release with the introduction of Lobo, where Lobo kind of broke the fourth wall and
Mm-hmm.
kind of talked to the audience a little bit. Crush does a little bit of that
Mm-hmm.
here. So I appreciated that, us old school Lobo fans was like, I see what you're doing here. I see your little homage, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like I too enjoyed Crush in that iteration of Teen Titans. I thought her character to be kind of fun, and I didn't follow the character that much, but I like this deepening into her situation. I love her relationship with her girlfriend Katie.
Yeah.
I love the visuals of her and her girlfriend Katie, the very real world feel and aesthetic to it, without going into any deeper than that. I like even like the slow doling out of the um the situation here, or the problem, or what's happening in
Mm-hmm.
that, oh my god, Crush, unbeknownst to us and her, has brought some type of spore down from a battle that we saw in the beginning, and it has slowly been making its way through this party that she's at. And you know there's a couple of visual clues along the way as to what is happening before everything all comes together in the final pages, and you're like, I dig that. I saw what you're doing there. I dig it. I don't know how well the whole story meshes together, like her dealing with this situation and how this ties into her having to deal with daddy issues with
Mm-hmm.
Lobo, and actually going to see Lobo. And this is part of a bigger plot on his part. So you can see all of that. You see that train coming down the track, but it's all. And that's typical. It's a story we've seen before. So it's all about, do you enjoy the road there?
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the road here. I loved all of her interactions. I loved the interactions with her girlfriend Katie. I loved her interactions with Red Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really, really fun scene. Like, just real friends just talking to one another. It sounded so natural. I found myself like, oh wow, this is a cool little book. I like
Right?
this. This is pretty
Yeah.
dope. And
Yeah.
I like that. I also even more appreciate that it's going to be a maxi series. I think it's supposed to
Yes.
be 8 issues. It's in and out. Let's face it. I don't think I think Lobo has seen better days, so I don't think he can carry a book by himself anymore. And as much as I like Crush, I don't think Crush can carry a book.
Right.
But me, I think the future of comic books is maxi series anyway. So I liked this just one little story about Crush dealing with herself and dealing with her father, and through that lens, maybe looking at Lobo in a different way. Sounds like it promises to be a lot of fun, and the art is great and got me all in. And I'm a sucker for a book with good art, and then the writing is good, and the jokes are funny but not over the top. I was with it.
Yeah. That's classic Lobo. Look at that face.
Yes,
That's a
yes.
classic Simon Bisley logo face or Lobo face. It
Mm-hmm.
really nailed
Mm-hmm.
it. Look, I have a therapist. Yeah, a lot of the comedy I think really works, and I agree. All the conversations that were happening with the different characters, her girlfriend and Red Arrow, felt pretty naturalistic, and I like the way she talks to the viewer, and she
Mm-hmm.
does even little things like, "Hey, at least I recycle," because you can see the little recycling bin out front of her
Right.
apartment.
Right.
Um, yeah, originally I was like, what is going on with the footsteps? Did she step in cake? What? Why are there pink footsteps everywhere? And I love that it was, yeah, she did not decontaminate after being out in space and dealing with a let's see, which is the whole thing about decontaminating after a battle with an intergalactic creature with a known history of chemical warfare. I like that she ruined the party by
Mm-hmm.
bringing this like horrible chemical into the situation. But I don't know if I buy. Well, maybe I do. That's the thing. I go back and forth. I'm like, I don't know if I buy them breaking up because of it. But then I'm like, teenage girls. I guess I do. I was a
Yeah.
teenager once, and boy, did we break up over some dumb shit. And then the next scene, or in the next morning, she's Crush has received a text from Katie saying, let's talk. I'm sorry, blah blah blah. But she, for some reason, doesn't see the text and then goes off to find her dad. So I actually quite liked that setup of we have to get the girlfriend out of the way so that Crush can then leave the Earth to go on her, her adventure.
Right.
Yeah, it was really well done. I really like this. Mariko Tamaki is killing it. I have not had a chance to read her Detective Comics run that just started like 3 issues ago
Mm-hmm.
with Infinite Frontier Detective, and it's very high on my list of things to try and catch up on just because I like her so much.
Right.
So yeah, highly recommend Crush and Lobo, especially if you're looking for some good Pride comics to check out this month. Friggin' do it.
Yeah,
Do
most
it.
certainly.
All right, next up on the docket is the Nice House on the Lake,
Oh, here we
number
go.
one, from DC Comics. This is written by James Tynion the Fourth. Also, he's written Wind, WYND, which we're going to be doing for my comic shop's book club this Tuesday night on Zoom. So we'll be talking about that. He also has been writing Batman for DC Comics for the past, I don't know, year.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. He also does Something is Killing the Children. This dude is knocking it out of the park. I'm really enjoying everything he's writing. And the art is by Alvaro Martinez Bueno.
Mm-hmm.
The solicitation goes, everyone who was invited to the house knows Walter. Well, they know him a little, anyway. I'm going to delete this from the... There we go. Remove. There we go. I'm annoyed that was still up. Some met him in childhood. Some met him months ago. And Walter's always been a little off.
A little
But
bit.
after the hardest year of their lives, nobody was going to turn down Walter's invitation to an astonishingly beautiful house in the woods overlooking an enormous sylvan lake. It's beautiful, it's opulent, it's private. So a week of putting up with Walter's weird little schemes and nicknames in exchange for the vacation of a lifetime? Why not? All of them were at that moment in their lives when they could feel themselves pulling away from their other friends. Wouldn't a chance to reconnect be nice?
Mm.
I had no idea what this was, but I was drawn to it because James Tynion and horror. Those are like the
Mm-hmm.
two things. And, I have a poster in my store that made me go, oh, I wonder what this is going to be. And there's a little bit of buzz about it before it even hit the shelves. So I was kind of excited to check this out. And then Noel, who couldn't be with us this day because he's dealing with a minor medical thing, it was like, dude, read it before it gets spoiled for you. So, Len, should we spoil the book?
Mm, no.
No. Okay. I was not sure. I didn't think I wanted to spoil it either.
Yeah.
But I will say we'll do our quick take on it. I think it's
Okay.
really well put together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring up the file so you can guys take a gander, a peek. The cover is really evocative, and the art is really really nice. And
Nice is not the word.
right, go ahead, go ahead. Go
Nice
on.
is not the word. This art is exquisite. It is exquisite in every single solitary way that I love comic books. The artwork itself, just the line drawing, is almost pitch perfect. The storytelling is so smart, so assured, so uh uh just
Profesh.
professional. Yes, you're right. The the colors, the coloring is spot on. The pace, everything is in lockstep. The font and its special captions all work in synchronicity with the artwork and the story that it is telling. And this is a story that if you open up the first page, it sets you up for a world that feels a little familiar in comic books, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, but it is so exquisitely drawn that you're like, okay, I'm with it. It's pacing out. All right, let's see where it's going. And then over the course of the rest of the book, you forget all about that beginning because it took you back in time and now it's got your mind spinning. Because I honestly, until opening this back up and going back to the first page for our review, forgot all about that first page and
Yeah.
where that was. And I'm like, oh, that, that that's fucking right. Uh, and for all you 21st century comic book readers who, like me, enjoy myself some Jonathan Hickman, this is the way that you put a lot of back matter into your comic book and make it matter. Make the people read it and actually enhance the storytelling and the experience of what is going on. There is absolutely, positively nothing wrong with this comic book except that it's not the full 256 whatever fucking pages of the whole story, so I could have just kept going.
Yeah,
This
man.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I will give a shout out. I will give a shout out. I do think that the cover is a little misleading. One, because it's not done in the exact same art style of the book. And I think it sets you up for a different type of read, but there's nothing wrong with that. But that's my read on it. But because of that, and figuring, like, thinking in my mind, this is the typical horror thing that I, for the most part, am just not really into, and not knowing that it was just going to be me and you, I kind of just forgo reading this, thinking that, well, the other guys will cover it,
Yeah.
and I'll be there for everything else. But you, JD, said, "Len, read it." So I read this book minutes before we went on air. Thank you, JD,
Yeah.
because this immediately became, well, this is the best thing I read this week.
That's what I
This
said.
this was really, really dope. So
Yeah.
thank you, my dog.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you very much.
I'm sure you're not going to read any more of it, and you're going to wait for the trade paperback after this.
Yes.
Nice. Um,
Yes.
I will be reading each and every issue of this series. I don't. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can't. Okay, so there's 10 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they each have a. Speaking of Hickman, yes, it's exactly a Hickman-ism that each character has their own little
Like symbol.
hieroglyph.
Well,
Symbol?
right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this is book one, and the far left hieroglyph is highlighted, if that'll be like an indicator of what issue you're on, if they're going to go boop 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 boop, and maybe it's a
Oh,
10 issue series. I could very easily Google that, but I won't, and I'm just going to postulate that that is what's going to happen. Yeah, man, this is a perfect introduction to I guess, kind of a horror story. I will say that, you were talking about that intro. I don't know if it was necessary,
mm-hmm.
and it does give a little bit away of where the story is headed. But I wonder if other people kind of need that in order to keep them reading it.
Yeah, because
Because
you want to know how it got there.
right. To me, I feel like we could have just foregone that entire intro and just started at people arriving at the house on the lake. Or no, actually,
Yeah,
okay,
because
the conversation in the beginning you need. This conversation you need.
yes,
And
yes.
then the house on the lake. I think the other stuff is unnecessary. But
Which is really just that first page. It really is
yeah,
just that first page.
yeah.
Right.
Also, I won't say it on the air, but Len, I think there is a hint of what the story is about in this page, dealing with the text, just the text, the nice house on the lake. I don't know if you noticed that, but we could talk
A little
about that
bit. I
another
saw it.
time. And yeah, talking about John Hickman and how he info dumps. I like this much better than a full text page, because what Hickman would have done is taken all of these different characters with their hieroglyphs and then put it all on one page, and you would have to
Mm-hmm.
read all of them. But here it is divvied out with the introduction of each character,
Right.
which I think helps the story flow much better.
Yes.
So yeah, man, this was great. I am very excited to read the rest of this series. Also, it in lockstep with Pride Month again. We have a character
True.
here who's trans, and it's very subtle, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's spoken about. It's pointed out. But it's pointed out from a character's point of view, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being like very heavy-handed or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is it just puts you in the time of the story, that and also one of the characters walking up to the house on the lake with a mask on, puts you in that feel of like, okay, this is today,
Mm-hmm.
this is the world in which we are living. Um so I appreciate it. Just not another subtle little thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fuck, man. It's just good. It's just good comic books.
yeah, man. James Tinian is killing it.
This will
And
be
let's
optioned real
see.
soon. If it's not optioned yet, this will be optioned real soon. I guarantee.
Let's see. The worst dudes number one. Bring it up.
Oh, oh, we're starting that downhill slide. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I did not read this, but Len did.
Hmm.
All right, let me ask you this, Len. Are you reading Scumbag? I believe
No,
is that Rick Remender's series where each issue is a different artist, and the
I
fate of the
believe so.
world
Yes.
rests on the worst person on it.
Right. Right.
You're not reading
Yeah.
that?
I think we read like a couple of issues. I think we read a couple of issues, but I didn't like continue it.
Yeah, same. I read the first issue and didn't continue it, but there seems to be a thing happening right now where we have really shitty protagonists. So I'm curious, is that what this is?
They're not shitty protagonists. Honestly, I don't even fucking know. They're not
What?
shitty protagonists. They're just like by any means necessary,
Oh, I see.
quote unquote, cops in this
Oh.
world. This really over the top, insane, bombastic world.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% sure of exactly what the end game is here. There's some
Well,
type
let
of
me read the
MacGuffin.
solicitation. So, The Worst
Yeah,
Dudes
read
number
the
one by
solicitation.
Aubrey Sitterson with art by Tony Gregori. The book so dirty, it'll turn your other comics yellow. A dirty cop, a drugged up backup dancer, and an angsty adolescent god. The absolute worst dudes in the galaxy on a raunch filled hunt for a missing pop star. It's a hilarious, aggressively weird, willfully vulgar detective story. Boy, oh boy. Looking at the cover, I go, I'm not interested in that. And then
Mm-mm.
reading this solicitation for the first time right now, I am definitely not interested in this book. I
Yeah.
might be wrong. Maybe one of the other guys have read it, and they'll, maybe Noel's like, "Oh, it's amazing," and I'll try it out. But this does not speak to me. I do not give a shit about this book, just from the solicitation and the cover. Go on,
No,
Len.
it's overly aggressive. It's true. It is raunchy, but it's raunchy in a. You know how some comic books, because they're set in like a different world, so they try to create like their own slang for that world. So this book tries to do the same thing, and so you can kind of get what they're inferring, but it's just too much. And like sometimes you can be over the top that you fall off the cliff. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what this book. It's so far over the top, from its bombast, from the art trying to be 100% strange, from the character design trying to be 100% strange. And but it thinks that it's being funny and
Mm-hmm.
being over the top, and it's not being funny. It's just being very off-putting, and not off-putting in a way like making you go ill, is off-putting in a way that makes you say, I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like you're trying too damn hard.
This is
And
the word for this book that I'm getting is edge lord.
there you go. There you go. Right on the money. And with that, there is nothing I just nothing I cared about this. I wanted to get done this book so badly. And it's another book that kind of like they just find a place to like snip an end to it.
Yeah.
Um it's just it was so stupid. It is, you know what this is? This is Adult Swim the comic. Because this is
Oh,
the worst of Adult Swim just
oh,
put into a comic book form. It's
because I
so
used to love Adult Swim. I used to love Aqua Teen Hunger Force and C
true.
Lab 2021. Like the first iteration of Adult Swim. I used to love that shit.
True, but for every one of those, then there would be one of those really dumb, over the top, crazy, violent
Yeah.
Adult Swim things. Like what was the one about the motorcycle gang or that used
No
to?
idea.
Yeah, it's some stupid shit that that just didn't fit before 10 o'clock on Cartoon Network, so they threw
Yeah.
it into Adult Swim. And that's what this. It's a waste of time.
Mm.
Don't waste your time. I'm sorry. I can be harsh, but I don't give a fuck. Don't waste your time with this. This is the worst dudes. It's the one of the worst comics.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not gonna bother.
yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Because my time is limited, having a new son.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm glad I did not waste my precious minutes on this one.
Don't take this
Let's
into
see.
your life, bro.
Out of Body number 1. Let's see. I'll bring that up. Boop boop a doop. And do we have a solicitation? There we go. From Aftershock Comics, written by Peter Milligan and art by Inaki Miranda. When Dan Collins wakes to find his life hanging by a thread, he must use his astral projection to discover who tried to kill him. Who is the beautiful mystic who tries to help him? Why does August Frine want Dan's soul? And what does it have to do with a demon who seems to be Dorian Gray? A weird occult detective thriller about life, death, and whatever lies in between. And I'll tell you, Len, I read this. Speaking, I just said my time is limited, and I had to read this last night. I was cramming in a bunch of books, and it was one of those periods where my son was having trouble going to sleep, and I was like, let me see if I can cram this book in while we're rocking him to sleep, and I read it. I read the whole thing. I read every word. I want to make that clear. And then this morning I woke up, one of the many, many times that my son wakes me up, and I thought, did I read all the books? Yeah, I read all the books. What was that book? I couldn't remember the name of the book. I couldn't remember the plot of the book. There was a section of my brain that said, there was a book that you've read and you can't remember now. It was Out of Body number 1 by Peter Milligan. I have no idea what this book was about. I read it. I read every word. And then I picked up my iPad and I went through it again. And I was like, oh yeah, I did read this. I still could not remember what it was about. I remembered this girl, and she was talking to ghosts. And then this guy was in a coma, I guess, but like he was awake. He knows he's in a he's not in a coma, but they think he's in some sort of coma. But he's very cognizant.
He's present.
He's aware of what's happening. And
Right,
I have
right.
no idea what's happening here. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what's happening here. I have no idea who these people are. Then his girlfriend or wife shows up and gives him a hallucinogenic, which is actually kind of cool. He was a little worried. He's like, "Oh shit, is my wife about to murder me with this syringe?" He's like, "Oh nah, dude, it's drugs. Cool, thanks. She does love me." And then he goes through his memories using that hallucinogenic drug and can't quite get to what happened to him and why he's in this coma or in this position.
Right.
And then this guy shows up, and I went, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It looks like somebody trying to be Grant Morrison with this final image. I don't care. I tried. I went through it twice, and I still don't care. What did you think?
Well, first of all, I recently, like during the day while I'm doing like a bunch of work, I keep my television on, and I have to always I usually don't watch anything that I haven't either seen before or something that I really don't care a whole lot about, so that it doesn't distract me too much from my work. So recently, just this past week, while working, I had the old TV show Alfred Hitchcock Presents on.
Oh,
And there's an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents where this guy gets into a car accident and he is paralyzed, right? But he's present, but he's totally paralyzed. And as people come upon his body, he's trying to get them to realize that he is actually present, but his whole body is paralyzed. So they think that he's dead. And he is like talking to the audience all along while like some guys start rifling his pockets, they start stealing stuff from his car from his wrecked car. He gets thrown into like the ambulance, like the whole situation, and he's talking himself through. He's like, "Oh my God, no, I'm still alive. I'm still alive." And it's like, and first of all, that's like the worst nightmare in the world.
yeah.
Like people can't like beep you right. So reading this took me into immediately back to when I saw that episode. I was like, oh damn, this is like every worst horror. Like I'm not with this. But then there's a moment, and this whole thing about the girl who could talk to ghosts and all this type of stuff. I
In the
thought,
comic.
yeah, in the comic book, I thought I was going to like, it just seems kind of interesting. But the story goes back and forth with that story, and it only really goes to the girl like maybe 2 or 3 times. So not enough times that I can really feel involved in her. So I ultimately just didn't care.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I think we're meant to stay with this dude who's in this coma type of situation. And this is kind of interesting because it sounds like a situation that I just saw in Alfred Hitchcock. I wonder if Peter Milligan, who I know is not a younger guy, maybe he saw that episode of Alfred Hitchcock and paying it forward. But then there comes a scene where his doctor, who's this black doctor, comes up, and I think he's talking there to his brother or like a friend of his, and the brother mentions, "You mean with all this machinery he die?" And the doctor says,
Oh my God.
it's so refreshing to deal with someone with a little medical knowledge. Yes, the machine's keeping him alive, at least until he's able to survive on his own. And that snarky tone from the doctor really made me step back. It was like, well, that's not good bedside manner, is it?
Right? I
But
remember this now.
but it continued every time you saw that doctor. She always has something smart to say out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's an interesting take for a doctor. Like, because she's just very smart mouth. Because there's later where some detective comes up and says, "Hey, I want to speak to a doctor." And she says, "Well, it might surprise you to know that I am the attending physician, you know,
Yeah.
and this isn't visiting hours. So you need to get the fuck out." Like, I mean, she doesn't say that, but she more or less, the tone is exactly that, right? So it's just, that took me out. So now I want to follow that doctor, but the doctor leaves.
Yeah.
And now the most interesting part of the story is gone. And I'm back to this guy in his coma who I really could care the fuck less about. So ultimately, this was a big nothing burger for me. But I want to follow this doctor who I don't think is named, and I want her to have a book. I don't care about anybody else. Yeah, this was just nothing.
That doctor scene came out of no. I actually had to reread that scene twice because I was like,
right?
What just happened? Why did you? This doctor's a dickhead. What the hell? Is she being sincere? Like, no, she's an asshole.
Right? I just like, what the fuck, man?
Now, the second one I do. Okay, the first snark I don't understand at all. She's talking to the guy's brother, I think.
Right.
And the brother has a brother who's in a coma of some sort, and she's a complete asshole to him. But like the second the detective comes in and says, "I want to speak to a doctor," to someone who's clearly a doctor, and a black female doctor, from my understanding.
Right.
Like, that one I get.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. If white guy comes in and sees a black female doctor and says, "I want to talk to a doctor," it's well within her rights to be like, motherfucker, I'm the doctor. Yeah.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, but the first one I was like, you're talking to a patient's kin. What are you doing? That's horrible. But yeah, that's the only sort of interesting thing that really happens. Besides the hallucinations in the coma, I think was kind of neat.
Yeah, I
The
guess.
wife
You
being
know.
like, Skleets, have some drugs in your coma. It'll make it more fun for you. I thought that was kind of neat. But like
That,
overall, I will not remember this book,
no,
and I won't.
no,
I'm not going to bother with number two.
me neither. But Noel will read it and he'll tell us how great it is.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to do thunder rounds, or should we just call it a day?
Well, how's things holding up over there in Babyville?
He's blankly staring at me and kicking his feet.
I don't know. Do we want to test things, or we want to call it a day?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right.
I will leave everyone by saying, of the books of this week, I think my two favorites were Crush and Lobo, and then Nice House on the Lake.
Yeah, and I think Nice House on the Lake, because it's James Tinian. I mean, you're probably wired to enjoy it, but I will tell everybody that it actually is a very, very good comic book. So I think you definitely will enjoy it. And I think Crush and Lobo is a surprise because while it is YA, in nature, I think, or in feel, it certainly has enough for, you know, it had enough for me, and I'm years beyond YA,
Yeah.
and that I really enjoyed it. So it was definitely the surprise of the
Oh,
week for me.
and Basilisk was good too. Yeah,
And
just
Basilisk,
going
Basilisk was
back through the
very
notes,
good
I'm
too.
like, oh yeah, I like that one too. That was good.
That was good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, most certainly.
I will say that I'm not caring about Heroes Reborn.
No, like I've mentioned before. I think the ancillary issues of it actually are the best. Even though the one that I read this week, Double Action,
Uh,
was okay, but it more or less is a retelling of um
Death of Gwen Stacy.
the death of Gwen Stacy, except this time, they sub in the Falcon. So it is what it is. I do think it's kind of interesting that the Batman analog of this universe, you know, fights the Spider-Man's uh enemies,
Yeah.
because I think the truth of it is, in DC, Batman probably has the most interesting villains in in that universe,
Yeah.
and in Marvel, Spider-Man probably has the most interesting villains. So I think that's kind of just an interesting twist that I noted. But
I had to keep reminding myself that I wasn't reading a DC comic.
well, I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Even though the Double Action, which is a throwback to older Marvel comics, definitely feels like an older Marvel comic.
Yeah. Oh, if you want to help the show out, you can go to patreon.com/Johnny Destructo and throw some ducats our way. I'm trying to think. I have a bunch of patrons right now. And I was thinking about doing something for them, either drawing up some stickers and mailing them some stickers, or maybe mailing them out some shirts just for Ishton giggles.
I like the idea of stickers.
Yeah. Um, I have to figure out what kind of sticker to draw. But yeah, I might
Maybe,
draw up a sticker and send them out to you.
maybe draw them Spider Baby.
Oh, maybe. So yeah. Oh, actually, comment below. Let us know what stickers I should draw for the patrons. That's it. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I know it was a short show today, but you only had the two of us. And honestly, I was amazed that I got through this much show without my baby having a fit. So let's see. Let me see if I can bring him out. Here we go. Oh my God, he's drooling all over the place. Whoa. There he is.
There he
Here's that
is.
little chicken nugget. Ah.
Ah, baby.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk at you later.
Oh, real quick,
Oh
real
my God.
quick.
Oh my God. Yes.
We'll get more into it next week. So we'll let people, suck it all up. But if you like that baby, check out the baby that just dropped on Friday on Netflix, Sweet Tooth.
Oh, I do want to
Check
see
it out.
that.
Check
Have
it
you
out.
read the comic book, Sweet Tooth?
I have not read the comic book,
Same.
but I really like this. Sweet Tooth was really cool, or as I like to call it, JD the Deer, because I swear, Sweet Tooth reminded me of you. The whole time I
Wow.
was watching this show, I was thinking about you.
Oh man, I'm so curious. I have to watch it.
Did you read the comic book?
No, I don't care for Jeff Lemire's artwork.
Fair, fair. Well, it's not
Depending on
animated,
how,
so you don't have to worry about that.
yeah, depending on how I feel about the show, I might go back because I know a lot of people have told me it's a really good series. But Jeff
Hmm.
Lemire is hit or miss with me, and his artwork is mostly miss for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But this story was very, it's very cool. That's what I'm gonna say.
Is
I've
it
only
is it a
watched the first
Netflix, John?
episode, so I'm looking forward to finishing it. It's
Is it a
Netflix.
Netflix? Yeah.
Just dropped on Friday.
Hopefully, it
Yep.
looks better than that Jupiter's Legacy looked.
Well, yes, 10,000 times better.
Oh,
They
good.
get
Good.
wigs right.
Oh, god damn it! All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will talk at you later. Ba boom.
Ta-ta!